Okay, what's up people? I hope you're all doing well, and in this week's video I'm going to be setting myself a challenge to see how much money I can make in just 1 week drop servicing on Fiverr. And for those of you who don't actually know what drop servicing is, it's basically a simple method as acting as the middleman between a buyer and a seller in exchange for a service. Your only job is to attract new clients and fulfill their needs using someone else's service, so technically you don't actually have to do any work at all. The only thing that you will be doing is communicating across from the buyer and the seller to make sure that all communication and information is getting across between the two parties. And if you haven't guessed it already, you are making money by selling these services to the buyer at a much higher price than you are when you go to buy the service from the seller and actually have the service fulfilled. So the method going into this challenge is to first find a service that I can use and sell on Fiverr, and I will be doing this by searching around on Fiverr and seeing what has potential based on a few things such as the pricing, the demand and the general quality of the work. So once I have that all figured out, I can then go ahead and create my own gig around the seller's service and basically repackage it and give it my own touch. Now that I'm back inside with the money making machine, I can start to take a look around Fiverr to see what's popping. Okay, so I already have a few ideas in mind for the services that I'm going to sell and the services that I actually think are going to do well, but for the purpose of this challenge I'm only going to run through a couple of them just to save time. Okay, so the first service that I'm going to be looking at is poster design, and the reason for this is because I know for a fact that I'll be able to sell that service on Fiverr for, you know, the similar prices that these guys are doing here. And I know I'll be able to pick that service up at a very cheap rate from someone else. Now secondly, I'm going to be looking at resumes and CVs, and the reason for this is simply because it's a very easy way to communicate from the buyer to the seller what is actually required of this service. So it really could be as simple as the buyer will provide me with a Word document for everything that needs to go into that CV, and then I simply send that over to the seller and they'll put it into a template for me and then send it back to me. Now the only problem with this is the profit margins. So as you can see here, a lot of these sellers are already selling this service for a fairly low price, which doesn't leave me with much room or profit margin at all. And this isn't to say that this service can't be used for drop servicing or anything like that, but what I am saying is for the purpose of this challenge, I think it would be a good idea for me to try target a higher profit margin service and use that for this challenge. Okay, so I've just taken another look around Fiverr to see what I can find for the poster services, and I've just come across this service here, which is for the poster map city service, but I really like the look of these simply because they're all listed for like really low prices, which means I know for a fact I can list these for a much higher price and make that profit margin work for this drop service challenge. The other great thing that's just come to mind about these services is the fact that there isn't actually much room for the buyer to make revisions. So what I mean by that is, if the buyer wanted a city map of London, they're going to get that city map designed, but in terms of revisions, there's only a few things they can revise for these designs, which is stuff like font styles and colours and stuff like that. And this obviously makes my life a lot easier when it comes to drop servicing and communicating between the buyer and the seller. So yeah, this is a great service and I think this would be a good one for the challenge. But anyway, with all that being said, I'm going to run a quick time lapse of me actually creating the gig images and the gig, and I'll check back in with you guys once that's all done. So here we have my new gig images, and before I move on and tell you a little bit about the gig, I just want to mention that you're not actually allowed to use or take any images from any other sellers on Fiverr. So what I did is I went onto Google and I just simply typed in poster city art and poster city maps and stuff like that. And I was able to find some royalty free ones that I was able to use just for the example on my gig images. These images that I am using from Google are only there temporarily, just for the time being until I make my first few orders orders, and then I will replace these images with those order images as the examples. And for any of you who are wondering how I actually made these gig images, I was using a free online editing software called Canva, so I will make sure to link that down in the description for you guys if you want to check that out. Now that I've got all of that out of the way, I'm going to quickly run you guys through my gig just so you can see what it looks like. So up here we have my title, which is I will create incredible city poster map wall art. So pretty simple, straightforward, says what it needs to. Over here I then have my 3 different gig options, and at the moment I've priced them based on another seller's service that I found that I think that I'm going to use for this challenge. So obviously I've made sure that I've bumped my prices up to make sure there's profit in between. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the video. And then moving on down, I have my description. So I've basically just defined the different packages and stuff like that. And moving on down again, we have my seller profile. So we have my profile picture here. We have basically a little bit about me. Been in the game for a long time now. Not too sure about that one, but yeah. And then obviously moving on down again, we have the compare packages. So this is just a more detailed way to look at the packages and what they offer and stuff like that. So I think that's a very quick, brief summary of the gig. So I hope that gives you guys insight onto how I've actually laid the gig out for the time being, and yeah, we'll see how this goes, I guess. Okay, so it's now nearing the end of day 2, so I figured I'd give you guys a quick update on what's going on. And basically we haven't been able to attract any new orders for today, and this is to be expected as we only made the gig live yesterday evening. So what I have done today to hopefully boost our chances of getting an order over the course of the week, I've gone ahead and changed up the descriptions and added in another gig image and basically just cleaned up the gig as a whole. And seeing as I went through the gig yesterday with you guys and actually showed you the live update of everything, I figured I'll just show you some screenshots or a quick screen recording of how it's looking now, just to save some time. But yeah, other than that, I mean, not much has actually really happened today. Okay, so it's now day 3 and the craziest thing has just happened. So as I've gone to set up my camera and my equipment and stuff like that to basically update you guys on the end of today and let you know that we didn't actually receive any orders and we didn't have any luck, I've somehow actually gone and received an order in the past 10 to 15 minutes. So yeah, as you can see on my screen there. But yeah, this is crazy because I really did start to believe that, you know, maybe a week was too short for this challenge. And now this is like completely boosted my confidence for this challenge. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this now. But yeah, this really is crazy stuff. So what I'm going to do now is look over this order, check the requirements and stuff like that, and then go ahead and actually show you guys how I'm going to fulfill this order. Okay, so now that I've got my laptop open here, I can go ahead and actually check out the order requirements that the buyer has given me. So if I scroll down here, I can see the information that they've given me, and I've already briefly looked over this, and basically what they're doing is they've placed a test order to make sure that the quality of the poster design is actually there, so then they can go ahead and post it on their online store and start to sell it. And basically here they've asked for a city map of Sydney, Australia, and then they've continued on to say that if the quality of the work is there, then they will be looking to continue with our service for another 20 plus design files. So hopefully we can impress them with the quality of the work that we deliver, as this will be a great way to actually start off the challenge with a order and a buyer like this. Okay, so I'm going to quickly show you guys how I'm actually going to go ahead and fulfill these orders that I receive. So basically here I've pulled up the service that I'm going to be using to drop service these posters. So here I'm going to find the same package that I've received through my buyer, and then I'm going to go ahead and start the process of placing my order through this guy here. Okay, so I've just finished paying for the order and processing it. I'm now on the step where I need to give the requirements for this order. So this is almost a simple method of copying and pasting the requirements and the information that I was actually given from my buyer. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that out now. So now that I've finished filling out the requirements for this order, I guess all I can do now is wait for the seller to deliver the designs to me, and then from there I'll actually show you guys how I take those designs and then obviously deliver it to my buyer. And of course this may take a few days as the seller has put a delivery time down for 2 days, but hopefully they get it done a little bit quicker so we can actually deliver this order well before the 7 days is up. But yeah, I guess that's all for today, and I'll see you guys the next time that I have an update. Okay, so it's now day 4, and somehow my order from the drop service seller has already been delivered to me. So they were able to get the order done in less than 1 day, so this is obviously good to know. Okay, so from here I'm going to go ahead and take the design file that I've downloaded from my drop service seller, and I will upload it to my buyer, and hopefully they actually go ahead and approve of this order. And this will then actually complete the transaction, which means I can complete the order from my drop service seller and there's nothing left for me to do. Okay, so just a quick update for the end of today. Luckily enough, the buyer only made a few slight changes to be made to the design, so I went ahead and took this information and gave it to the drop service order, where a few hours later they were able to make the changes for me. So I then took this new design file and gave it to the buyer, where they approved of the new design. Now I'm just waiting for the drop service order to give me the final design file, so then I can take those files and deliver it to my buyer as the final delivery and basically just complete the order. So it really is just now a waiting game and acting as the middleman between the two orders, as I said earlier on in the video. Okay, so it's now day 5, and just after I filmed the last update, my drop service order was able to deliver the last and final files for me. So I went ahead and took these files and delivered them to my buyer, where this morning they actually went ahead and completed the order. So that's now 1 completed order, and to add to the good news, I actually woke up this morning and received 2 new orders. It appears that one of those orders are actually from our buyer from yesterday, so we now have a returning buyer, which is good. And this obviously means they really like the quality of our work, so hopefully they keep coming back for more. And the other is from a new buyer, and this is obviously a good thing, as it means that our gig is now actually ranking quite well in the search results. Our returning buyer is looking for a map of New York, USA, and our new buyer who we recently attracted is actually looking for a map of Shanghai, China. So from here I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process to get these orders fulfilled, and seeing as I've already run through the process with you guys for the first order, I won't bore you again with any time lapses or screen recordings, and I will update you guys when I have some more news. Okay, so it's now day 7, the last and final day of the challenge, and the reason I didn't get around to filming yesterday on day 6 is simply because the drop service order didn't actually send me any files until earlier on this morning, so there really wasn't much to show for yesterday. So to update you guys on how the orders are actually going, I woke up this morning to actually take the drop service design files and deliver them to our buyers. And within a few hours, our returning buyer, who was looking for the map of New York, USA, had actually accepted the delivery, and then within a couple of minutes actually then placed another order for a map of London, UK. This is of course great news, and especially from a buyer who we know is looking for multiple designs, so hopefully they will continue to use our service. Now as for our other order, I'm still waiting for them to get back to me to let me know whether they're happy with the order or perhaps they want any revisions or changes made to the design. So that's now all just a waiting game, and I want to quickly mention something that I forgot to say the other day when they actually placed the order. This order was placed for a premium package from our buyer, but for some reason they gave me the requirements for a basic design package. So if you were wondering why I went ahead and fulfilled this order with our drop service seller with a basic package, then this is why. But now that it's getting late, and realistically I don't think much else is going to happen in this challenge in terms of receiving any new orders, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this challenge up here and run you guys through the profits and my thoughts on how I think it went. So to start this off, let's take a look at the completed orders. So as we can see here on my screen, we have a total of 2 completed orders so far, and they both sold for $10 each, so obviously this is a total of $20. Then moving on to the orders that I currently have in progress, we can see here that I have another 2 orders that are currently in progress, and these both total to $30. And the reason for this is because one of them was for the basic design package and the other was for the premium package. And for the purpose of this challenge, I'm actually going to take these orders that are currently in progress and include them into our final profit, because I mean technically they were within the 7 days. So let me break this all down for you guys, as of course we have to pay our drop service seller to have these orders fulfilled. So for all 4 of our drop service orders that we had placed to get the orders fulfilled, we had spent a total of £21.96, and this of course includes my local sales tax, which in my case is VAT. I also went ahead and converted this amount into dollars, which came out as $30, simply so it gives us a better comparison against our sales from Fiverr. And if you haven't guessed it already, our total sales came out to $50, but of course Fiverr will take a 20% cut out of that, so we are left with $40. Now if we do the basic math and take away our $30 expenses away from our $40 in sales, then of course we're left with a whopping $10. Now I know this isn't much at all, but we really do need to see it for the bigger picture here. Throughout this challenge, we have been keeping our prices as low as possible as a means of actually attracting customers and bringing them through to our gigs. This way we can actually build up on our reviews and our reputation. So if we allow this system to continue working for a few more months, we would definitely see an increase in the amount of orders, and secondly an increase in profits simply because we can actually raise our prices. So I personally feel that this challenge has been a great success, and it certainly proves that this method is possible within Fiverr. So I hope that has covered everything to wrap up this challenge, and please make sure to drop this video a like if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos and challenges like this in the future. But yeah, that's all for now. I will see you guys in the next one, and take care.